Hi, my name is Melissa Aguirre. I own Mel Marie Yoga and I am a yoga teacher trainer. I've owned 4 yoga studios and I also opened the first yoga studio on a military base back in 2019. I'm also an entrepreneur, as many of you guys are, and I want to share a few things of why mindfulness is such a powerful gift in entrepreneurialism. Because in a lot of ways, as entrepreneurs, we're pioneers. We have a vision, we have an idea, and we're pioneering it forward. We're retelling a story, we're bringing our flavor to the table. And as military spouses, we're also navigating the unpredictability, which can create a lot of, it almost feels like stalling that can happen as business owners, or even just the courage to open the brick and mortar you want, or to start that project because you just don't know whether it's childcare or whatever it is. And one of the reasons I believe yoga has helped me so much in my business, even though it is my business, is because it trains me in self regulation, learning how to be with momentum. And then when turbulence hits, because of my practices, techniques, whether it's breath, inquiry, pausing and looking for different options, and all these other things, and I've trained it in my nervous system through movement, through self inquiry. The more you practice, anything you do creates neural patterns. And so I've trained a lot of this in my body and I maintain and continue to practice it. And it allows that when turbulence comes, that instead of compromising, I collaborate. I take inquiry and look at the options I might not be seeing. And then even with the bravery or the fear, right, holding both, that I can be both brave and afraid. I can step into something that I might not know the outcome. Yoga teaches this practice of detachment from the fruits of labor, which can sound kind of counterproductive as a business owner, right? We want the fruits to be there. But actually, when we're constantly making choices attached to an outcome, we limit the possibility of what can arrive as opportunities, or working with different communities, populations, anything, partnerships, wherever our path takes us. So it's being in a collaborative flow, even in the unknown. And in a lot of ways, that's what we're doing through the mat. The type of practices I guide people in, and my method philosophy with my school, is it's not about performance. It's about self-experience. It's about you cultivating agency. So you feel really empowered as you walk into the unknown, that you don't need to trust on the external, you can trust on the internal. And in that, we can build meaningful connections, relationships, and things, knowing that I can love with my whole heart. I can show up with my whole heart, and I trust myself through both the magic and the shadow. So, with when I think about business advice that I'd give to other military spouses, a lot of it's going to be similar to the post I've shared here, or it's going to be along the lines of developing self-trust, because the first thing to know is you're at the center of your business as an entrepreneur. And especially if you started your own business, you don't get to hide behind Best Buy or like a brand name, right? Like, it's you at the center. And so learning to work with safety and what you need for self-care, so you can always give from a place of have, and that you're not operating in scarcity, and that you're making intentional choices that are in alignment to what feels secure and grounded and stable for you. That even when I think back to opening my studio, like when I got my first brick and mortar studio, I mean, we were supposed to be in Texas for 3 years. So that's crazy. Why would I invest and step into having a studio? But I also knew that there's a chance that we could stay in San Antonio. I just didn't know. So what I did was I went and I negotiated with what I felt safe with. I said, hey, I want to add a military clause to my lease, that if my husband has orders or we're supposed to PCS, that will break my lease. Most people told me they're not going to do that because they only do that for residential. Well, guess what my landlord did? He added it to the lease. And that's actually how I ended up closing one of my studios. So I use this as like, what is safe and secure? The next thing is with your creativity, is part of stepping into your creative genius is by looking at what is your own energetic signature, like what is authentic to you, because in a way you're your brand, and what you infuse into it. I think there's a lot of rules out there of this is how you do your brand, this is how you're supposed to do this. But if it's not in alignment with your vibration, with your flow, with your flavor, then we can be pulling from a place of inorganic energy, which will force us to constantly pull from external things to make it happen versus pulling from organic energy, which is you. And in that, the importance of rest cycles, that when you incubate or you have a season that is off or a season that feels like it's not flowing, or you're having to pull back inward because you got to deal with your home life because your partner's gone or you're dealing with whatever, that you don't look at it as a bad thing and you're not making yourself wrong for it. In fact, you're using it for potential energy. So I'm a total nerd. I'm really into physics, really into quantum mechanics, and really into mind body medicine. And something we know is that if you think of a slingshot, that if I just pull the slingshot and I just keep shooting, the stone doesn't go that far. But if I pull and hold and then I release, the stone goes further. And I think about in my rest seasons or the cycles or times that it's not going so fast. Like it's either slow in business or there's just too much on the home front that I got to address. And I'm going to have to keep everything else simple until this gets grounded. And that is where I do a lot of my self-development or my ideas come, is in the rest. And then as I'm in this incubation, when I show up, I have more potency when I've launched something or I share something with the community. And then in that, I look at where we are dealing with pressure and recognizing what is me, what isn't me. So where pressure comes from. And if I'm staying in like where I want to play in my industry, I think that's something like whether you're a health coach or you create something, if you look at the industry, you got to decide where you want to play and allowing yourself to go where it feels good and empowering, and being aware of when pressures come in, if that's coming from you or if it's coming from outside of you. And if it's coming from within you, the opportunity to digest and check into what feels right. If it doesn't feel right, maybe trust that it's not for you now. And then learning how to have the courage to go with what does feel right or what does stay in integrity to who you are. And then from there, I think about how we have self-understanding and knowing our own nature, because I think there's a lot of resilience that entrepreneurs and then especially military spouses are called into, is how do we show up with understanding where our boundaries are, what we feel right in, and being able to regulate in discomfort or the courage when you move. And maybe it's starting over, maybe it's not, but how you can continue to evolve and bloom where you're planted, wherever you are. And I think we have a unique opportunity for location independence in a lot of ways, because we get to go and spread our energetic signature across the country in different places, even in different countries, right? So it's negotiating how we see it, but then also where you know yourself and what you know to be true for you and where your boundaries are. And then also with your expression and how you show up and marketing, there's so many things out there for how to market the right way, or this is what your Instagram should look like. But if it's not organic to you, I can't repeat this enough. Like if it doesn't feel right, it's not about perfection. It's about connection. Are you doing it for the algorithm, or are you doing it to invite people into a conversation with you? What are you sharing? Are you sharing a solution that God has placed on your heart? And are you doing it to tell a story through your life and inviting people in to, it's not just about a membership, it's a movement, right? It's about leaning into the vision of where you see the world and how you see yourself in it, and inviting people to join in to make the world a better place or to find their cozy or whatever it is. And then even from there, being able to see what that vision is and knowing why you do what you do, being intentional. And part of this, we can make a lot of goals, but oftentimes we will base our worth off of the accomplishment and not what we discovered through the journey. And so being in this space where we're co-creating with the journey, and that you don't have to prove that you're enough, but you're enough because you were called into this passion, this desire, anything that comes in your heart, it cannot be there without the possibility of it unfolding. And I always say, like, if it doesn't exist, create it. If you don't know, ask. Those are the things that create innovation. And there's a lot of ways. So whether you are into mindfulness, yoga, self-care or not, if you want to work with me or dive into this stuff, because I'm really big on self-care for entrepreneurs and also innovation ideas. If you're interested in yoga, I've done a lot of work with the military. I'm a mindfulness expert for the military. I'm actually the second yoga study that's ever been done for the US Army. I'm really involved in a lot of ways with that, but also on the civilian side and different projects and studios and with my trainings. My programs are all my CAA accredited. So if you're eligible, you can get your MyCAA scholarship. If you're in the military, there's ways that your training can get paid by the DoD if that is something that your unit requests. There's also beautiful ways that if you yourself, because I do military discounts, payment plans, all types of stuff, if you want to dive deeper into self recovery and self discovery and then self transformation and all of this stuff to find ease and flow. And I also think, in a way, tenacity and how we move through discomfort and challenges, how we regulate ourselves, and then also how we model and embody, living in a higher way or with more regulation and joy and love. How we manage our stress, which is the number one thing, is taking care of your nervous system. There's a lot of opportunities to dive in. And I also have a free program that is partnered with the USO. It's called the Yoga Foundations course, and anyone is welcome to request access to that. I'm happy to share, and you can begin a journey there. Or if you want to dive in and work with me, be mentored, there's so many ways, especially if you have a vision on your heart and you want to share it with the world, or you want to be mentored in different ways of whether working with the military directly or launching things into community. I have been teaching for over 10 years, and I actually started teaching with the Warrior Transition Battalion at Fort Bragg and helping open a studio in Fayetteville, North Carolina, to now here we are in Texas. And yeah, like the story just continues to unfold, and I don't know where it's going to take me. I just am here for this in this moment and excited to get to connect with you all. So don't be a stranger. You can follow me on Instagram at Melmarie Yoga. You can send me a message. I love connecting with other military spouses and rallying. I think that it is so important that we do rally for each other. I always say, when I get asked, like, if I could be queen for a day and change something about the military or the Army, my first thing is that changing that we're not dependents and changing it to family member and doing things like that. Because I think too is energetically, when we feel this suppression or it's just that we can't, it creates that in our reality. And being surrounded by military spouses that want to have, like, in a way, it's like liberation, right? Like being able to feel connected to your purpose too, alongside your soldier, that you get to contribute in different ways and in your own ways, and that you are valued, you are seen, and you are loved, and you're not alone. So do not hesitate to reach out. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you all, and I look forward to hopefully maybe practicing with you on the mat, whether it's virtually or if you're local in Texas, or to train with you and work with you and support you and celebrate you in this stuff. So thank you all. It's been so fun to share on here this past week, and I hope to see you soon.